Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Inters Racing League Tier 1. Welcome to Round 3 and welcome to the Spanish Grand Prix for round number 3. As we said before, on the 21st to the 23rd of Feb, we arrive on the 23rd of Feb here at Circuit de Catalunya for 66 laps of racing. You heard us correctly. It is a 100% distance race ahead of us, and there is going to be action-packed moments and plenty of eventful things to come in our favor. Let's go through the results because qualifying's already underway and I'm a little late. I do apologize. So, to begin with, Drivers' Championship. Of course, after Vegas, there was a bit of carnage that unfolded, but after the win by Checkered Flag, it saw Checkered Flag take over the drivers' standings. Campbell Adams falls down to P2. He's currently 8 points away, so he's still in a good area, but will need to 3 points, my apologies, to make up for it. Yusuf Goat, another 14 points behind on 27, and the Aston Martin needs a good bit of luck to fall into his favour. Only one P2 and didn't have the result he would have wanted at Vegas. Let's move over to the Constructors' Championship, where we will see that Racing Bulls are currently on top. So VCarb with 58, 17 points behind is Red Bull, Aston Martin on 8, and Williams on 4. Completely equal with Aston Martin. So close little fight there in the midfield of the Constructors' Championship. We'll have to wait and see how that continues to unfold into the racing ahead. Now we'll go into the obvious Vegas results itself. So of course, Checkered Flag picking up the win, taking over the championship lead. Yusuf Goat finishing in P2. Campbell Adams just missing out in P3. Big old slipstream and tow down that pitch, down the back straight, on that final lap, allowed Checkered Flag the opportunity to win that race. Scotty had a brilliant race, 12 positions, up 8, or up to P8, my apologies, and other people like Karma, great consistency, great perseverance, and others unfortunately coming up a bit too short and falling into positions they wouldn't want to be in. Apart from that though, without further ado, because I know it's the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm sure you want to get into quali. So, when I just press a few of these buttons here, the switch is made, and there we are. Aston Martin of Chill Pill is who we are currently on board with. Apologies with the camera, I forgot to get it sorted, and it's just something we're going to have to deal with for one more race. I do apologize. I know. There's going to be plenty of comments. I'm sorry. Anyway, Chill Pill, P14 in the Aston Martin, a 111 by Abyss in the Williams. Aston Martin goes P2 and a 112, 106. Zox in P3 in the Alpine, continuing on with his lap time. Mighty Wombat in P8. I keep doing bloody ACC's got me doing muscle memory with their controls. Anyway, Mighty Wombat on Haas, currently P9 at the moment, surrounded by other cars that are currently on an outlap, but continuing through those final couple of corners and into the second sector, he goes at the moment, and just seems as if there is a V-carb getting out of the way for the Haas driver. It seems that would most likely be Checkered Flag, and Farmer Sam will be the other one on a fast lap at this current time, and the Haas driver will come around the final corner, push it to the absolute limit, and go P2 on the border, 111.880, only off by a few thousandths, and McJammy dodging that Ferrari will swoop in and take position over with a 111.5 flat. Brilliant time set down. This is Tier 1 in full effect, ladies and gentlemen. Zox in the Alpine's going to come around the final corner as a few other drivers follow in pursuit. P goes 8, Karma F1 goes 6, and Zox goes P6 as he takes out Karma F1's position. Abyss now falls down to P4, Mighty Wombat staying in P5, Apollo Pepsi up to P3, and Sir Joshi now up to P2. Brilliant little tussle for positioning, qualifying real early on, and good to see in full effect on board with Farmer Sam as he rotates through that final corner in the V-carb. One of two drivers who have been on their fast lap will set down a 111.994, will go into the P8 region, but I must say there are so many drivers in the 111s down from P1 to P8 where Farmer Sam finishes, and just shows you how close Tier 1 can truly be at the moment. Angel Maker in the Mercedes P12, but on a slow lap as he's unfortunately invalidated. Cam in the Ferrari P13, he's going to round off some of the final corners and make his way to that timing line. and P14 will go to P10 as he just misses out on that P9 position from Farmer Sam. Chungus, also known as Yusuf Goat, goes up to P1, a 111.459, and Websy will snatch that one away, a 111.215. So the Williams and Aston Martin driver going tussle for position. Great little majority of drivers showing their pace earlier on in this qualifying session. Red Bull of Campbell Adams in P20, dead last at the moment, but he is pushing on his fast lap and continuing to rotate through the next couple of corners and really try and get the most out of this, doing a brilliant job so far. Currently going purple through the second sector. I will need to get RLT up at some point so I can look at the live timings, but for now, Campbell Adams will go up in elevation and rotating around and continuing on with his fast lap. Apologies if I seem a little distracted for a moment. I'm just getting RLT up so I can get some live telemetry for myself while I commentate this brilliant racing action ahead of me. And apologies, of course, for the lack of noise that I am currently making as I currently sort this all out. But we should be all good now. I'm hoping. Oh god, my live telemetry isn't connecting, so my IP has changed. Of course it has. Don't we love when our IP changes? Well, I'm obviously not going to show that on screen, so we'll have to not have any live telemetry for today. Angel Maker, unfortunately, invalidating on his first lap out on those C3 soft compound tires. The Mercedes already backing out of it. Seems as if he's not pushing on that lap either. Scotty, his teammate in P20, but of course the Mercedes not setting down a time. Will be hoping for a little bit more luck than his teammate. Meanwhile, some of the, I say some, but majority of the rest of the field all seeming pretty even for the most part. Mercedes rotating through the curb onto the tarmac and trying to keep it as neat and even as possible onto the next outside curb, rotate onto the apex and quickly get back on throttle as he continues on with his lap time. 10 minutes 35 on the clock and looking good for the Mercedes driver. Bit of a kick on the rear there out of the exit of the next corner as he started to release the brake and get back on throttle, so maybe just a little bit too early as he started to kick out, but doing a brilliant job nevertheless. Apologies, by the way, I'm once again going to be distracted by OBS. I did mention how I kind of did a bit of a last minute thing, so yeah. Apologies for the lack of noise as I continue to sort out OBS. It does not want to work with me, this IP of mine, but we've got OBS Blade working now, so that at least is something. Back, of course, to qualifying action. Scotty only able to go P18 on the board. The Mercedes driver with a 113.393. Other drivers are on an outlap at the moment. McChammy Dodge in the Ferrari with a 111.5 flat on an outlap. And he has plenty of drivers behind also doing the same thing. 9 minutes on the clock, and majority of drivers are already getting to their second lap of running, and they want to perform to the highest extent, get the best time possible, and use the entirety of that car around the entirety of the circuit to get the most out of their lap time. So doing a brilliant job for the most part and really trying to make the most of it in the best way possible. See, check volume please. Jamie seems low, but I think I didn't do anything. Don't worry, I'm the one streaming, so anyway. Apollo Pepsi, P8 at the moment, the McLaren a 111.778, and currently going around the circuit with a lot of determination on display at the moment. And the McLaren driver going up in elevation and now downshifting around that 50-meter board, braking before quickly releasing, of course, just oodling with the brake. You don't want to lock up those front tires and go flying into the gravel. Once again, doing the same thing, rotating through that apex and getting the throttle down. Now you're using a bit of that battery. No DRS until after the next couple of straights, doing a brilliant job. Avoid that sausage curb, just ride it with the tires. Now rotate through and quickly activate that rear wing, and the McLaren doing a brilliant job so far. Apollo Pepsi through the next couple of corners as he approaches into turn 10 and 11. A very rounded off corner. It used to be a lot sharper around the old layout of Spain, but a bit more open this time round. And of course, Spain was also the Grand Prix where they had that terrible drone camera, which was never used again, of course. Apollo Pepsi around that final corner got the DRS reopened, and a 1:11.981 goes P9 on the board and pushes drivers like Farmer Sam now down to P13. But Farmer Sam, another driver who's pushing high and mighty throughout the field. We have a McLaren, however, of Sir Joshi, who's just a little bit closer to finishing up on their lap time with an Alpine behind there. So the McLaren will come around the final corner, up to the line, set down a P8 or P5 time, sorry, of a 1:11.477, and the Alpine, who I can only assume is Zox, unfortunately locking his rears and sent spinning around that final corner and made no progress by the end of it. Let's go on board with Farmer Sam, who across the line goes P6, a 1:11.564, and a brilliant time set down indeed. EVE of Yusuf goes, just have a normal name for once in your life, Yusuf. Currently in P4, but on a fast lap will set down a time of a 1:11.436 and does improve by 23 hundredths, but no more, and sees himself stale in that position, pardon me, for now. And Abyss in the Williams, a 1:11.707, continuing on with his lap time at the moment, and just trying to get the most out of it. And apologies for a moment, I'm just going to quickly fix something. Oh, I got to do it on the game itself. Alright. We'll have to worry about that one later. And the Williams of Abyss at the moment, currently with a 1:11.707, but continuing on and trying to push to improve his time to the best extent, and doing the best job he possibly can. Just need to get this Twitch chat up. Like I said, kind of did everything last minute, so everything's still kind of a work in progress as we progress through qualifying. Go. Inters Racing League Twitch chat is now up on my OBS. Lovely. Abyss goes P3. Williams just 2 positions off his teammate, with Websy setting down a 1:11.215, and Campbell Adams in P2 in the Red Bull with a 11.285 as well. So very close times, only 70 hundredths separating these two. Campbell Adams will improve to a 1:11.285, and there you go. Goes to a 1:27 and goes to the next fastest lap, improving against Websy and going to provisional pole in a brilliant fashion of driving. Majority of drivers still in the pit lane. They'll be coming out in the final 3 or so minutes. Angel Maker unfortunately invalidating for what seems like multiple times now around Circuit de Catalunya, and Scotty on his 5th lap, so it seems as if maybe he's getting a bit of race practice in. He may have not got the practice in beforehand, but he's certainly pushing his tyres around here in qualifying in such a precise and concise manner. But yeah, now we're in a bit of the dying period of this qualifying with 4 minutes 25 on the clock, and we are currently waiting for all these drivers who are in the pit lane to make their way out and progress through the field. We do have SFR Fins, my apology, who is on a fast lap going through the first couple of corners and now upshifting through the gears with, I guess, determination in his eyes. And Finn's doing a brilliant job at the moment as he continues through, rotating through purple in that first sector. Big kick on the rear, but my apologies, Alpine keeping it all together for the most part. Continuing through the next couple of corners, and the Alpine now back to flat to the floor as he downshifts to 4th gear, rotating through just once again, has quite an aggressive front end, needing to regain the control through majority of the corners, but still looking with determination in his eyes to get the most out of this. And P20 is where he currently sits, but continuing through into the 3rd and final sector to see what this Alpine can set down as he gets to turn 12, just making sure he can get the most out of it. Then quickly switch onto that inside line, open up to the outside for that nice winding long turn 14, which takes us across the line, and a 1:12.132 sees Finn's only P15, unfortunately. Angel Maker on another lap here, and he'll be looking to try and find improvements, but it seems as if he's a few seconds down at the moment. Cam's on an outlap, and the Scuderia Ferrari will be one of many drivers to line up and go for their final fast laps here in qualifying. 2 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock, and Cam is well and truly away. The Ferrari driver into turn number 1, shutting the DRS and rotating through, just oodling with the throttle through the chicane and continuing through now into turn number 3. A long winding right-hander, which then sees the Ferrari driver braking around the 50-meter mark, maybe just after, and just lightly tapping on that brake to give him the rotation he needs for turn 4. Then into turn 5, much tighter hairpin, but nice left-hander that leaves you very nicely into turn 7 and 8, and then quickly into turn 9, a quick shift and rotation through into the right-hander, DRS open, and to be fair, Ferrari giving each other a perfect slipstream in tow. Cam now looking to really line himself up for a good opportunity. Of course, at Vegas, Cam did not really have the race he was hoping for. It just didn't fall into the right pieces and it fell away for him. So he'll be looking for better days and better results come Spain here today. But Cam around the final corner, what can he set down? A 1:11.877 goes P12 on the board, and only P12. Unfortunately, the Ferrari driver could not go any higher. McJammy Dodge, however, was now getting going on his fast lap, getting a tow down the pit straight from his teammate. So great little teamwork from Ferrari. But will McJammy Dodge, will Meowsy Gaming have the opportunity to make the most of it, hugging that inside line, interestingly, and deciding to go for a bit of a different approach. But the Ferrari driver now just scraping that outside line, getting as close as possible to the white line as he possibly can go, and doing a brilliant job so far. And when's my co-com showing? Hang on one moment. Apologies. Right, back to the call, and obviously, if we are not aware, of course, I forgot to mention earlier, but we are being joined in the commentary box for COCOMs by Battlecat. Unsure on when that will be, but apparently so from what I've been told by multiple people. Not by Cat himself, but I trust the people in their word, and we'll have to wait and see if Cat will be joining us, because otherwise we've got a long 66 laps, because I am not having all this energy thrown into this race. Apologies. 1:11.171, however, and 50 hundredths away from P1. Unfortunately, McJammy Dodge falls just a little bit too short of pole position. Websy giving a bit of a tow to his teammate at the moment. Meanwhile, Abyss currently sees himself. Brosov Coop says nice cams. Finally, someone mentions the nice cam. Everyone hates the camera. Thank you. Anyway, Abyss getting a nice tow from Websy at the moment, and Websy currently seeing himself just as a bit of a teammate more than anything. Websy's in P3. Maybe both of them are still pushing, and this could potentially cost Abyss more time than anything. But it doesn't seem as if Websy's just giving him tow at one corner. It seems to be a bit more of a joint effort, but across the line it's going to be a 1:11.336 and a 1:11.215. But Campbell Adams in the Red Bull does go back to provisional pole as a 1:11 flat, only off by 59 milliseconds, and a brilliant show of performance right there. Karma F1 back in the pit lane, only finishes in P8. Domi in the Haas on one lap old soft compound tires, unfortunately invalidating one lap ago. Continuing through, Apollo Pepsi's backed out of it, and with everyone else rather invalidating, retiring, or back in the pit lane, we can now say with absolute certainty that it will be Campbell Adams on pole position here for the 66 laps of Spanish Grand Prix action ahead of us here for the Enduro round of Spain in Barcelona. What a brilliant show of performance, what a brilliant show of racing action, and the Red Bull driver on top at the end of qualifying. And back to you, Kat. Oh, wait, not here yet. So back to me, back in the commentary box, of course. And I am actually sorry, I do apologize for this, but now that qualifying is over, we're just going to flick over to the filler screen because I need to change my IP on my game so I can have live telemetry. So I do apologize, but of course you can't see that because otherwise that's going to cause myself some problems known as doxing. So hopefully that should be all I need to do. Yep, we're connected. Good to see. Lovely. Okay. Alrighty, and back to the game result, ladies and gentlemen. Campbell Adams setting pole position in the Red Bull, 1:11.059. Just over a tenth behind is the Scuderia Ferrari of McJammy Dodge with a 1:11.171. Websy and the Williams just in P3 by a tenth and a half off. Checkered flag goes P4, P5 is Abyss, and it goes down from there. Another good result by Karma F1, getting into a nice midfield position. Fortunately, his teammate couldn't get the same result, and unfortunate for Scotty, who will start P19 with his teammate of Angel Maker in P20. So that is where we find the drivers at the moment. And now everything just takes a much slower approach. 66 laps of racing action here at the Spanish Grand Prix. 66 laps of racing to go. It is the Enduro round, and the pit crews will be ready more than ever before. They know it could get hectic on the first couple of laps. The strategy is going to be diverse and intriguing. We have the C1s, the C2s, and the C3s on board, the hardest in the Pirelli range. It is going to be up to the drivers to determine where they will finish this race. Have a mixture of pace and ability to just manage it to the best of their ability and try and make the most of it. And so, as we wait for one final time, the drivers getting their setups and their cars ready, the tires up to temperature. The formation lap is off, but we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. The lights go out and it's pedal to metal here in the Spanish Grand Prix Enduro round. It's a good getaway by Campbell Adams. McJammy Dodge also getting a brilliant getaway, getting a great slipstream in tow down the pit straight. Meanwhile, it seems as if V-Carb in P3 is going to go down the inside, looking to make a move against the Ferrari driver, and does so in a moment's notice. But will V-Carb stay there? Yes, he will. Now on that outside, goes to the inside, able to defend with precision, and the Ferrari driver immediately down to P3. It seems as if Abyss and his teammate of Websy fighting away, but it seems as if Abyss is going to make a big lunge down the inside against McJammy, and McJammy now losing 2 positions out from what was originally P2. Williams holding the outside, a bit too early on the throttle, and loses out big time. Websy now needing to suffer the consequences of that mistake, losing a little bit more time out, and the Williams staying in P5. Yusuf Goat in P6 at the moment. Karma F1 moves up to P7. Sir Joshi in P8, leading a big line of cars in the midfield, looking to fight away at the moment, and Websy now up to P5, making a move against his Williams teammate for the time being. Rest of the field continuing to fight away. McLaren of Sir Joshi in P9, trying to bring himself a little bit closer towards Mighty Wombat, but breaking away, unfortunately. A little further down, Domi in P12, also closing in on the Alpine driver. Letter P, a tenth and a half away from Scotty. And now you can see the Mercedes of Scotty just going 2 abreast with his teammates, and Scotty will go up to P17 in a brilliant fashion. That's actually going to become 3 wide because letter P is going to take the outside line, go around Angel Maker, the teammate to Scotty. Scotty's going to try and get past, but it is now the Kick Sauber who's up to P17 in a brilliant fashion of overtaking through turn 1. On board with the McLaren of Sir Joshi in P9 as he approaches up to the Haas, unfortunately backing out of it, and all drivers ducking and weaving and turning and rotating through this high downforce circuit on the we should probably get a better idea of the tires to begin with. What looks to be the C2s, and one person on the C3s being Mighty Wombat, so deciding to go for the soft compound tires to begin with. Interesting choice, of course, when we consider the usual tyre choices that are made for endurance rounds. A little higher up, and Abyss down to P5. Websy getting a great successful overtake against him. Websy against the Ferrari driver. McJammy Dodge in P3 at the moment, and just seemingly taking his time to make the maneuver. He understands he will get DRS down the pit straight, and now that rear wing will flap open. The Ferrari will also get it, but the slipstream in tow is much stronger on the Williams driver, and Websy in a moment's notice will move up to P3. McJammy Dodge back down to P4, and Websy goes up to P3, up into those podium positions, and really looking quite strong in this first part of the race. Checkered Flag, of course, our Vegas winner last time out and our new championship leader, finding himself right near the front end of the field, currently on 4% degradation on those medium C2s, and sees himself 5/10 away from making a move against Campbell Adams in a good position, but just needs to bring himself slightly closer, my apologies, to really get it sealed and solidly set. That's not a word, but we're going to make it a word now. And the V-carb of Checkered Flag in P2, 5.5 away. It seems as if the Red Bull's just a bit too confident at the moment. Even with DRS, the gap only shuts down to around 5.5, and Checkered Flag really is dominating his pace at the moment. It seems as if Abyss just 2/10 away from making a move against McJammy Dodge, and everyone's just lining up in a very concise manner, looking for the opportunity. Unfortunately, I believe that is Angel Maker who's gone spinning round. A mistake, unfortunately, made on his part, and missing an end plate to follow as well, so that's front wing damage, and now over 21 seconds behind. Unfortunately, a bit faultful on his part, and he'll need to come into the pit lane to get those repairs done, which is going to cost him dearly, especially with such a long race, but also with a longer race can mean more opportunities to come back through the field. Sir Joshi in P10, getting a nice run through. Websy moves up to P2, and we'll switch over to the front runners now. Checkered Flag in P3 for the time being. Meanwhile, Websy does find himself now up into the top two, chasing down Campbell Adams at the moment. Lap 4 of 66, and we still have another 62 laps to go. Yellow flag, and that is Angel Maker retiring in the pit lane now, unfortunately bringing his race to an end and deciding to call it quits. Unfortunate for him, it does happen at the best of times, and yeah, the route is decided to go down. It seems as if Websy's just going to stay behind Campbell Adams for the time being. Checkered Flag defending well against the Ferrari driver. Meanwhile, the Williams of Abyss OCE starting to really pressurize that Ferrari driver. It was already quite tense, but it's just getting worse. Each lap that goes on, that Ferrari driver will be feeling some type of pressure, and McJammy Dodge, of course, who had already been overtaken twice, does he want to make it a three-time unlucky situation for himself? Looking at that rear camera, it does seem as if McJammy Dodge will get overtaken, and yes, Williams making a quick move down the inside. Ferrari's forced off the circuit, will rejoin illegally and unsafely, so Ferrari will give up position. Williams will now take over P4, and McJammy Dodge is down another position. Ferrari not looking very strong here at Spain for the time being, as it continues to go less in his favor as time moves on. Cam not really making up too many positions either, 1.6 seconds away from Domi in P13, so a few mistakes being made throughout the field. Farmer Sam in P9 at the moment, currently 3/10 away from Mighty Wombat in the Haas on those soft compound tyres, and unfortunately I would give you information about the tyre deg he's experiencing, but he has his telemetry off, so unfortunately I won't be able to tell you that one. McJammy Dodge in P5, trying to come back through the field on this brilliant helicopter cam that we get to see the racing action on. The Aston Martin of Yusuf Goat starting to approach him now, and it seems as if Ferrari had the qualifying pace, but maybe just a bit less confident with the heavy weight that is carried in terms of the fuel, because of course it is a longer distance, and maybe needing to preserve his tyres a bit better. He does have DRS, so we'll have to wait and see if he makes a move going into turn 1. But no, decides to stay where he is, and look at the top two at the moment. The Williams driver of Websy once again starting to close up on the Red Bull of Campbell Adams, my apologies. And all drivers starting to reach around that 10% region in terms of tyre wear on those medium compound tyres. Let's move through of course, strategy options for Plan A. You could go for the soft, medium, medium. Of course, all of these are looking to be 3-stop strategies, just for context. So you could start on the softs, which is most likely what Mighty Wombat's going to do. Start on the soft compound tyres, go for the mediums, and then go for another set of the mediums. Or he'll go for the softs, mediums, and then go for another set of the softs. Plan B, and of course this applies to everyone else, start on the mediums, then go onto the softs, back onto the mediums, or go for the mediums onto the softs, and then another set of the softs. So the hard compound, the C1s, not really being used. Of course, we know the hard compound tyre can be a really difficult tyre to get up to temperature, especially around certain circuits like Silverstone, and they can be quite difficult in the opening laps. Of course, they can endure the most, they can be competitive, and Websy's going to go to the outside line and make a move against against the Red Bull of Campbell Adams, and the Williams now moves up into the race lead and now takes over the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix with thorough desire to win. Campbell Adams in P2, the Red Bull still trying to chase him down with this Ayrton Senna camera design, and seems as if just staying where he is for the time being. Let's stick on board with the Red Bull driver out of the exit of the next couple of corners, of course, including turn number 9. But all staying just very patient at the moment is the Red Bull driver, and continuing up the hill, the Red Bull get a brilliant usage of DRS to most likely make that move back. But will he wait for the pit straight? No, he won't. He'll make the move now, and Websy might get an opportunity down the pit straight if the Red Bull does successfully make the move. But the Williams is going to fight it. Contact made to the side pod. Red Bull still holding on the outside, and finally the Williams breaking away, and Websy staying in P2 for the time being. Now he has V-Carb right on him, checkered flag, pressurizing the Williams. But this is probably the plan that, of course, Websy wanted to follow. Get DRS down the pit straight, and now, in a moment's notice, it is the Williams up into P1, and the V-Carb will quickly follow in pursuit, who takes away the Red Bull's P2 as well. And now it is Websy who now quite thoroughly has the lead of this race. Of course, it was a momentarily led by him previously before Red Bull took over through the third and final sector. But of course, Websy had the better idea of overtaking down the pit straight, and now there's no DRS until out of the exit of turn 9. So this is a really good opportunity for Websy to build up a gap and try and get away for the rest of the field, so he can see himself in a much better, much more favorable position for the remainder of this race. Cat, when are you joining me, man? I need to breathe. Holy moly. Alright, well, continuing, of course, with the racing action on hand. Websy in the Williams P1, 6 tenths away, is checkered flag P3 as Campbell Adams in the Red Bull. And continuing on for the time being, as he gets a lovely slipstream in tow through the final couple of corners, and now down the pit straight, the Red Bull will be able to make up for lost time due to the fact that he was overtaken twice down the pit straight. The Red Bull should be able to make this move stick, but no, it is now the V-Carb who's going to go down the inside of Websy, and now it is, of course, checkered flag who leads the race, and the championship leader strikes back against any type of opposition, and Websy has to sit himself down in P2 for the remainder. My apologies, for the remainder of this session. Campbell Adams in the Red Bull, P3, 1.5 tenths away from Websy. Cud said someone probably started a rumour he ain't coming. Oh, Lords help me, I do not want to do 66 laps on my own. Campbell Adams in P3, getting a nice slipstream in tow against the Williams driver of Websy at the moment, and the Red Bull will now use that slipstream in tow to try and make a move. It's important to make early positions, so going into the pit lane, you can try and keep that position out of the exit of the pit lane, and try and build off of that for the remainder of the race, or until your next stint comes to an end. And currently, Campbell Adams in P3, just chasing down these two right near the front end of the field, and the high-speed camera at the final corner picking up all the action with a lovely little chase down the pit straight, as Williams once again, this back and forth between the race leaders, sees Websy back up into P1, Campbell Adams back down to P2, and checkered flag 1 lap ago was leading the race, is now back down to P3, so it really does show you how quickly things do change in a moment's notice. McLaren of Sir Joshi now starting to close in on Farmer Sam in the V-Carb in P8. Zox is in P10 in the Alpine, and just behind, of course, is the Hasses and McLaren's fighting away for the time being as the racing action continues. Websy in P1, fighting for his absolute life, it seems, and Campbell Adams trying to chase him down successfully to make the move stick and get himself up into the race lead for what has been a couple laps missing in his favour. Websy of course, having a great back and forth and a tussle with Campbell Adams and Checkered Flag. McJamie Dodge is going to start joining the fray, and the same goes for the Williams and Aston Martin as they all start to become a big line of DRS cars coming to fight in through the action. Checkered Flag, though, dropping to 7/10 through those next couple of corners, and the DRS will most likely be strong enough. Campbell Adams waited, he had patience, and now successfully will make the move stick and moves up into P1. Williams has nothing to fight back with and stays down in P2. Checkered Flag still in P3, back to 3.5 tenths, and the remaining part of the midfield as we go on board with the Ferrari of McJamie Dodge, still waiting for the opportunity to make a move stick. And once again, in classic endurance race fashion, we don't have another 15 laps, we don't have another 20 laps, we have still 6 times the amount to go. We have completed 1/6 of the race, ladies and gentlemen, because of how long this race is. We're going to be here for quite a while. Scotty moves up to P17. Ecam in the Red Bull, unfortunately, making a mistake, and that would have been how Scotty made a move. And the kick Sauber is now lurking upon him, and P just waiting, lining up, and measuring up the Red Bull driver to eventually make the move stick and set down in position, but staying where he is for the time being. The soft compound runner of Mighty Wombat will be struggling now with his probably quite decrepit and old soft compound tyres, and I can say that because the remaining part of the field is on 18 to 20% tyre wear, so only imagine the type of tyre wear that the softs would have, being probably double that amount, around 40 to 50% after 12 laps of racing action. So definitely degrading at a much higher rate, and it seems as if the Williams of Abyss thought about going down the inside before backing out of it, and through the next couple of corners, the Williams in P5 will continue to try and pressurize McJamie Dodge. I gotta feel bad for McJamie here. He has been under constant pressure through the midfield, but that is the midfield, ladies and gentlemen. They do not let you rest for a second. Constant and utter concern and worry about your position. Always looking behind you. It is never safe when you're racing against some of the best drivers in the Oceanic region, including people like Campbell Adams, currently leading this race. Websy, once again, wants another opportunity to make a move stick, but will the Williams driver get it stuck correctly, or will it be placed incorrectly and see himself rather make a move unsuccessfully, or in this case, not make a move at all and stay behind? Checkered Flag in P3, once again, lingering around and is causing the entire midfield pack to stay with the front runners, but it seems that gap is just causing the drivers in the midfield to not get any closer towards Websy and Campbell Adams, and a good bit of teamwork actually on display, even with this back and forth, to try and extend the gap out a little bit further. But the V-Carb is starting to close in on the front runners, but unfortunately not close enough, goes down to a 1/10.5. But Campbell Adams stays in P2, and Websy once again moving up to P1. Great teamwork on display by the front end of the field. Good little tussle for position, and a great back and forth on display here at Circuit de Catalunya on lap 13 of 66. Fastest lap currently set down by 1:15.461 of the Red Bull of Campbell Adams. Currently around 22% will be the tyre wear for majority of these drivers as they continue to push along. Of course, fuel will be less the problem, as they would have calculated full race distance, so they don't have to worry about lifting and coasting on this 66 lap race ahead of us. Nice sunny day ahead. It does seem as if there's an 8% chance of rain, so very, very unlikely, practically impossible, and it would most likely be just nice sunny weather until the end of the race here for round 3 of Inters Racing League Tier 1 for season number 8. Consistency is key, ladies and gentlemen, and Inters has been consistent for the past 8 seasons and continuing to grow past what OSRL ever was, if anyone remembers that. I think their last ever season was season 7, so finally Inters beats them out. Campbell Adams moves up to P1, Websy falling back down to P2, Checkered Flag in P3 for the time being, and V-Carb falling down another position. Williams falling down another position. Meanwhile, V-Carb continuing to chase down the position loss by the Williams. We're trying to make it make sense, ladies and gentlemen. The Alpine of Zox in P10 at the moment, trying to chase down the McLaren of Sir Joshi and set Domi at the moment, and it just seems as if a lot of the same action on display at the moment. Just a lot of back and forth, a lot of tussle for position, a lot of teamwork on display. The midfield trying to break it down a bit more, trying to bring themselves a little bit closer. It's just not working in their favour at the moment. So it's clear to see on the side of course, apologies one moment as I just quickly fix something. And I will be one moment. Cool. Alrighty, got it sorted. Continuing on with the racing action, Campbell Adams falls down to P2 with checkered flag in P3. McJammy Dodge staying in P4 for the time being. Meanwhile, the Red Bull driver trying to close in on the Williams for the time being, just not getting any closer at the moment. Through the rest of the field, Ferrari of GLX Cam in P15 staying where he is, trying to close in on SFR Fins, just not seemingly working for the time being. Domi in P12 trying to close in on the McLaren driver, and not working on this occasion. McLaren of Sir Joshi starting to close in on Farmer Sam. So Apollo Pepsi and the McLaren not closing in on the Alpine, but Sir Joshi certainly making a bit more ground. Karma F1. I was about to say Farmer F1. My apologies. Karma F1 in the Kick Sauber P7 on his 14th lap on those mediums, and currently that type of tyre wear does seem to be a bit higher at the moment, specifically for Karma F1. He's on 27% tyre wear, 25.5 on the front left, 25.5 on the front right, 29% on, apologies, as of course Karma F1 just shifting through that field a little bit. Sorry, it is 29% on the rear left and 14.1% on the rear right. So Karma F1 having quite solid rear end tyre wear, but then his front end is much more worn down. And Websy once again starting to try and close in on Campbell Adams at the moment, but no use as they continue on here for the time being. And Broseph Coop in the Twitch chat of Link's Shadowbong. G'day, mate. And g'day to him as well. Good to see everyone in the Twitch chat showing some support. Of course, this is a long one, and it seems as if I'm on solo comms today, so we've got a long one ahead of me. I am lacking a drink of water because I drank it all at the gym, but here we are continuing to fight through all the pains and struggles of long races. I mean, 2 days ago, I did a 2.5 hours of Austria commentary session for ACC, so I know the pain, ladies and gentlemen, but, you know, as they say in the gym, that we can also technically apply it in the commentary box. No pain, no gain. Anyway, Mighty Wombat in P13, 15-lap-old soft compound tyres. I'm honestly very impressed with Mighty Wombat. The fact that he's on 16-lap-old soft compound tyres and still pushing along is beyond impressive, and he's actually about to make a move up into P12 and just be one position lower than his teammate. So even with the significant disadvantage he'd be having in terms of tyre wear, it's clear to see that Mighty Wombat's going extremely long on these tyres, trying to make the most out of it, and it shouldn't be too long, ladies and gentlemen, until we start to see the first of many pit stops. And of course, a lot of people going for that 3-stop. Campbell Adams making a slight mistake, going onto the grass and down to P5. So the team from Milton Keynes back at the factory will be shouting down the screens as they see devastation pour into their eyes by the fact that the Red Bull driver has fallen down position. Williams of Websy and Abyss in a great position at the moment. We're just going to make a quick switch back over to the Constructors' Championship just momentarily, and we get a better idea, of course, where everything is. Of course, Williams in P4, so they'll be looking to try and get past Aston Martin and get themselves up into a position like P2, with people with Red Bull. So until that point, they do currently see themselves in that current position, and we'll have to wait and see how it will continue to progress. Checkered flag down the inside, though, makes a move against Websy, and up into P2 goes the Williams driver, and Abyss once again close, but just not close enough. And the V-Carb team will be looking to try and re-solidify their place in the Constructors' Championship. And like I said before, Williams will be looking to try and make up some solid ground in the Constructors' Championship as they currently see themselves in P4. Cam down in P15, the Ferrari driver making very minimal ground, but still ground, and the Ferrari driver in P15 for the time being. And speaking of Ferrari, P5 of McJammy Dodge, another Ferrari driver to lose out position, unfortunately a tenth and a half behind Campbell Adams, and trying to close in as much as possible. And Campbell Adams in P4, now really in the background of what is quite a very tight tussle for position. Websy on the outside made a brilliant move through out of the exit of turn 11, and now as they continue out of the exit of turn 12, it's clear to see that Websy up into P1 is going to have that down the pit straight, but by how long will he hold on to that, because Checkered Flag hunting him down very quickly, and Williams will hold the outside. VCarb will quickly switch over to P1, and once again a bit of a tussle for position. Previously it was Campbell Adams and Websy working together to try and make a move stick, but now finally that midfield has really started to close up near the front end, and look at the crowd of cars. Even though on lap 19 of 66, look at the crowd of cars all just I can't think of the word, all kind of working through the field to try and make up positions. Oh, man, I am super tired, but we are making it work, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, Checkered Flag leading away this big line of cars as we continue through on the spectator menu of Yusuf Goat, also known as Chungus, and everyone's DRS clearly open at the moment, trying to get the best position possible. I'm really struggling to come up with words here, so please work with me here. Cud says very clean by all the lads, absolutely, and this I think is a great point to mention. Of course, Inters Racing League always offering very clean, safe, competitive racing at its finest. Of course, incidents are bound to happen, crashes are bound to happen, but it's how often that it occurs that really matters, and it really is quite a rarity on a lot of occasions. Of course, you will have the odd people who, decide to retire in the pit lane, but overall, Inters Racing League always has great drivers who are extremely clean and will fight for their position at the highest level without taking someone out or without ruining another person's race. And you can see this clearly on display with the absolute line of cars fighting away at the moment. It goes all the way down to Sir Joshi in P9 before eventually that DRS starts to break away. So yeah, it is extremely tight and close throughout the field at the moment, as all drivers still continue to pursuit around in a snake-like fashion to try and make moves when it counts. The Red Bull of Campbell Adams will try and look for a move potentially, but stays where he is as he approaches into turn number 10 and quickly into 11 at the second apex of the corner. So quickly making ground and then backing out to avoid any type of bad contact being made. So that's that cleanliness on display, and Williams for the first time this race actually goes into a 1-2 formation, and maybe Williams can use each other to try and break away from the rest of the field. Checkered Flag though will still get a great tow from his teammate, but look at the sandwiched position that Checkered Flag was left in. So it's clear to see that Williams working brilliantly to try and keep themselves in 1-2 come time for the pit lanes. And Mighty Wombat on 20 lap old soft compound tires, which is beyond impressive, finally makes the move to come in and switch over to those what seems to be the mediums. No, he's gone for the C1 hard compound tires. So I really got to ponder or even wonder here, is he planning on running that tyre all the way to the very end of this race? Has he decided, I'm not doing a 2-stop, I'm doing a 1-stop on the hards and seeing if it can count in my favour? I mean, it's very possible. I don't disagree with the decision. Of course, a lot of people would be boxing on the mediums anywhere between laps 17 to 27, but for anyone that is boxing off of those mediums, usually if you go for the hards, you might be able to get to the end of the race. If you go for the softs, you're going to have to box once again, but then you'd be on newer tyres come the end of the race. So there's a few different strategy decisions that can work for these guys, and they'll just make the best decision, or they'll have some type of race engineer making the correct decision for them. And so we will have to wait and see how things progress in that favour. Seems as if Websy is going to go down to P2 as Abyss moves up into P1. The hards can pretty much do the whole race. Well, I don't unfortunately have the same information as I usually do because unfortunately SRC are lazy buggers and decided not to do as much information for 100% races. But thank you for filling me in about that. So, okay, majority of people are going to go for the one stop and go from mediums to hards or softs to hards. And once again, a very impressive stint by Mighty Wombat to be able to go 20 laps on those soft compound tires, which would have been starting to reach puncture range and come into the pit lane and now be on a set of those hards for the end of the race. So clear to see that we are going to see a bit more of the one stop, which means we're going to have a bit of a extended gap at one stage in this race. So we do apologize if things do get boring at one point or another, but racing always fires back up into light near towards the end. And what I can say with absolute certainty is that on lap 22 of 66, we are now 2/6 of the way through this race, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming thick and fast, and once again, the action never likes to slow down here in Spain. The Williams of Websy, once again, great toe down into turn one. He will follow through and try and make that move stick, and yes, he will. Websy up into P1. Abyss falling down to P2 now as he once again tries to tussle for position and make the move stick with the best fluency he possibly can have. And Campbell Adams at the moment still sticking behind. There's a good amount of teamwork on display at the moment, so clearly that is on display for the time being. Let me try and get you some interesting details or something. Try and find a bit more information for you guys, because I'm not being joined in the commentary box by anyone apparently or clearly, so I've been lied to. And yeah, Jaredbot saying 1/3, nah, 2/6. Well, yeah, that's how we're working today, ladies and gentlemen. If you were to simplify 2/6, you'd get 1/3, absolutely, but I don't feel like simplifying today, so deal with it. That's how I say it. And ooh, V-Carv's going to come into the pit lane. Farmer Sam on 22-lap-old medium compound tyres. His tyres had worn down all the way to 38%, which was actually less than a lot of other drivers who started to reach around 41 to 42%. But now Farmer Sam making the decision. Zox, Finn, so both Alpines is deciding to follow him in, and Cam as well making that decision. So clearly the driver's getting a bit uncomfortable on the worn tyres and making the decision now to switch over. They'll be on the undercut strategy, undercutting the front runners who are deciding to stay out maybe for just an extra lap or even further than that. But it's going to be imperative for these drivers to have the absolute best strategy possible. Finn's, interestingly, is almost guaranteed to go for that two-stop strategy as he's now boxed from mediums onto the C3 soft compound tyres, which will not really work in his favour, let's say. But Campbell Adams, what I mean by not work out in his favour is that, yes, he'll have faster tyres on that second round of pit stops, but everyone else will be staying out, and so they'll be able to create a much more significant gap to Finn's, and then Finn's will need a whole time period for him to chase down. So reasonably, I'd say it's the wrong strategy to go for, which I originally thought it was, but I have been proven incorrect. But Campbell Adams currently in P1 for the time being. Websy in the Williams, just continuing to try and pace himself a little bit closer towards the Red Bull driver. 3-3-3 is the current gap, a 3-3 of spacing between him and the Red Bull. And the Kick Sauber of Karma F1 in P6, trying to bring himself a little bit closer. We are now lap 25 of 66, so if it was a 50-lap race, we'd be officially halfway through, but unfortunately we have another 16 laps more than that. So, you know, long one ahead of us. Either way, SFR Finns goes P16 on the board, up to P15 in a moment's notice. Ferrari of GLX Cam moves up into P16 as well as Chillpill falls down to 17. So Aston Martin losing out big time. Big one to consider is that the Williams of Abyss coming into the pit lane has been able to officially overcut the other drivers who had come into the pit lane. So that's a very important detail to just mention, is that if Abyss, who was right next to Websy at the time, comes out of the pit lane and overcuts the remainder part of the drivers, then this is a great position for all the front runners to be in. They understand that they can keep pushing on these tyres and just allow themselves a good opportunity to come out ahead of other drivers, but will Abyss in the Williams be able to undercut some of the other drivers coming into the pit lane? They've overcut drivers from behind, will be able to undercut drivers ahead. We will have to wait and see. On board with Abyss, and this should be a pretty swift move up into P9, as unfortunately Farmer Sam on what is 2-lap-old medium compound tyres does get by. Obviously has a bit more grip in his favour. Farmer Sam will be boxing again now that he's on those mediums for the second time running. Kick Sauber going slow, not Karma F1, so that will be the teammate of Letter P on 8-lap-old hard compound tyres. He made a very different type of strategy decision. Unfortunately, Letter P down P19 by 20 seconds clearly did not work in the best of favours. Right near the front end of the field, Karma F1 and P6, 3/10 away from the Aston Martin of EVE, Yusuf Goat, also known as EVE Chungus, the prick who decides never to change his name. No offense, but I mean, seriously, dude? Anyway, Ferrari of McJammy Dodge in P4, getting a great DRS slipstream down the pitch straight, but right near the front end of the field, we have the Red Bull of Campbell Adams losing out to Websy once again, and the teamwork between P1 and P2, no matter the drivers, is always constantly on display no matter what. Yellow flag just momentarily deployed before being put back away on lap 27 of 66. And once again, the fielder drivers just swiveling around at the moment, trying to make the most of it, and really trying to make the maximum possible. Apologies, just need to quickly message someone, but racing action still high and mighty on this racing field at the moment. And apologies for that. Back, of course, to the commentator's box, and VCarb on lap 28 of 66, starting to close in on checkered flag here. Of course, the VCarb against the Williams at the moment, and message being sent by other people. Oh my god, people want to play stuff and I'm commentating a 66 lap race, and they're going to make fun of me because I'm going to say I'm busy commentating a fake race. One moment, everyone, I'm messaging again. Alrighty, back to the racing action, and more drivers, actually majority of the front end of the field, deciding to come into the pit lane. Farmer Sam on 4-lap-old medium compound tyres. The VCarb driver will come around the final corner, and now we'll see if he can make the most of this. Of course, a majority of the drivers not making their way out of the pit exit just yet, and it's clear to see that the VCarb driver is now going to move up into P1 and take the lead of the race on 5-lap-old medium compound tyres. The real test of his ability is firstly if he can make those mediums last to the very end, which I doubt, and secondly, if he needs to do his 2-stop, which I expect him to go for a 2-stop. Realistically, just when he would decide to box again. I do really apologize, everyone. This is not the type of commentary session I wanted to occur. I really need a co-coms. Oh, gosh. Going through the field at the moment, the Ferrari of McJammy Dodge got a nice slipstream in tow at the moment, and looking to go down the inside, and yes, goes down the inside, braking with precision. Aston Martin will follow in pursuit, and Yusuf Goat moves up into P6 as Ecam in the Red Bull falling down to P7. Abyss in the top 3 at the moment, trying to hunt down Websy, but Websy's on a new set of the tyres, having a successful overcut against his teammate. Of course, Abyss fell down to roughly, I'd say, around P12. But could not get any higher up and will not make the move stick against Websy. So Websy in a perfect position to be. He's on the newest tyres in this top 3. Of course, Campbell Adams behind is on the same lap of tyre as Websy, but in terms of the top 3, Farmer Sam's on 6 lap old mediums, Websy's on 1 lap old hard, and Abyss is on 5 lap old hard. So realistically, as time progresses, Websy is going to finish this race on the tyres he's currently on, if there's no damage and if there is no mistakes. And if everything does fall in his favour, Farmer Sam's tyres are going to wear out, and he'll need to come to the pit lane once again to complete his 2-stop strategy, and Abyss's tyres will just be that little bit too worn down in comparison, where he'd be where he'd be getting past. Jerobot says, comms is great, if I wasn't racing in 10 minutes, I'd jump in. Jerobot, I was about to say you're a legend until I read that you're racing in 10 minutes. Good luck with your race, though, as much as I kind of hate you for not joining me. Nah, but good luck with your race. Hope everything goes well. Hope you win. I know you can. Anyway, the Red Bull of Campbell Adams in P4, looking to go down the inside, but no backing out of it. Williams of Abyss will go down the inside and make the move against Websy, and up in the P2 goes the Williams driver. Of course, Williams not really found themselves any lower than the top 5, so they've been in a perfect, precise region of the grid and field, and they refuse to drop any lower, despite mistakes that can be made. Chill Pill goes up to P15, making a move against Cam in the Ferrari on lap 31 of 66 here at the Spanish Grand Prix. McLaren of Sir Joshi backing out of it as checkered flag stays in P7, defending that inside line. It seems as if Yusuf Goat in P6 starting to close in on the Ferrari of McJammy Dodge. And the Aston Martin thought about making a move, but decides otherwise and stays where he is for the time being, as we continue to go round the Spanish Grand Prix here for the Enduro round of Inters Racing League. And once again, it is the Enduro round for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. It is all about enduring as much as possible. But the Williams of Websy goes up to P2, Campbell Adams in P3 as he gets past Abyss, who now moves down to P4, so a quick shuffle of positions through the top end of the field. Campbell Adams, of course, on the same lap attire as Websy, so back to equal grounds between these two. Only thing separating is how much fuel they really truly have in the tank, and I can say, in terms of info, I cannot provide you any. Unfortunately, both Websy and Campbell Adams has their telemetry turned off the buggers because they know racing engineers are probably listening into the stream, so unfortunately I won't be able to provide any information from them. But Abyss is on currently 9% old tyres, 73% around 73% left in his battery. He has DRS, of course, currently active, no current damage. His fastest lap is a 1:15.075, and he is currently setting down a 1:15.567. That was his last lap time set down. So that is the type of information that we are getting from him. Kick Sauber, across the field, and nearly finding himself up against the Williams of, I'm assuming, or even the V-Carb, sorry, of Farmer Sam. And are we getting a safety car? Is this guy, man? To be fair, I understand he is stopping so he can allow other cars by, but Anyway, VSC deployed, ladies and gentlemen. We are under virtual safety car conditions, so the Delta is now out and everything just slows down a tad. Anyone that decided to not box earlier, this is a great opportunity for them to make up for lost time, because of course everyone's driving at a much slower pace, and just means that they can of course both control and just have a bit more of a slower pace for the remainder of it. DRS re-enabled, and you can see how quickly Farmer Sam got off the line. 2 penalties now applied. Are those drive-through? No, they aren't. 10 seconds for Mighty Wombat, 3 seconds most likely, of course, a what do you call it, track limits invalidation being set by there. But all the gaps starting to extend themselves out as majority of drivers finishing up with their pit stops. But of course, the front end, always an exciting place to jump in and watch as a commentator for where the action might lie. So if this was a normal 50% distant race, this would be the final lap at the final corner, and everyone would cross the line and it would be the end of the race. But of course, we are under enduro conditions, so lap 33 is done. We have completed one half of this race, if we want to use fractions correctly, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, lap 34 of 66 as we now break into the second half of this race as we begin this 34th lap. And Abyss in P4 at the moment. In the Williams, trying to close in on Websy in P3, Campbell Adams in P2, 3.7 seconds away from Farmer Sam, and Farmer Sam actually has made a pretty good decision for the time being. Unfortunate about Farmer Sam's decision is that, unfortunately, even if he's gaining time at the moment, he's not really going to get that track gap that he was hoping for. He's got track position of P1, he's on 10-lap old medium compound tyres, but unfortunate for Farmer Sam is that, of course, the gap is just not going to extend to somewhere where if he were to come into the pit lane, he'd be able to overcut the rest of the field. So he needs to think quite considerately about when he's going to come into the pit lane. He needs to think quite thoroughly, and he just overall needs to make the right decision on this second pit stop, because realistically, I don't see him making it to the end of this race on these current medium compound tyres. We saw majority coming into the pit lane on around maybe lap 25 from those mediums, so they can last around 25 laps. We have more than that in terms of tyre wear time for Farmer Sam, so yeah, he will most likely come into the pit lane again, so it's going to be imperative for him to choose the perfect opportunity to come into the pit lane and make the move stick. Lap 35 of 66 here, ladies and gentlemen, as we slowly but surely approach that lap 40 mark of 66. Oh god, my neck is so sore. My apologies. Sorry. You're also dealing with after gym pain. You know when you get like pain after you've gone to the, not like neck or back pain, not that type of stuff, but like in your muscles. I'm getting that type of pain at the moment. So you're dealing with a commentator who is agitated because he doesn't have a co-commentator and has also come from the gym and has a lot of muscle pain. Anyway. Campbell Adams moves up into P2, Websy 2.5 tenths away from that Red Bull driver, unfortunately missing out on his hold of position. V-Carb of Checkered Flag 2.1 seconds away from McJammy Dodge at the moment in the Ferrari, and continuing on to try and chase down Yusuf Goat. Of course, Yusuf not really having the season that we expected from him, potentially focusing on different games or different types of motorsports, but compared to what I've seen previously, Yusuf Goat has just dialed it back a touch, and we haven't really seen him right at that front end like we have previously. Of course, I believe he's picked up a single podium this season, if I'm not wrong, if I have a look at Farmer Sam in the championship. Sorry, not Farmer Sam, Yusuf Goat. Then we will see. I mean, yeah, Yusuf Goat picked up P2 in Vegas. I mean, Yusuf Goat scored some pretty consistent results so far from round 1 as well. So it's not like Yusuf is necessarily slower, but I don't know, maybe he's got the same pace as before, but other drivers have increased their pace. McJammy Dodge moves up to P5 against the Aston Martin of Yusuf Goat, making the move successfully stick. And of course, another thing we need to consider is the confidence of drivers around different circuits. Of course, if the Aston Martin of Yusuf Goat was less confident around Spain compared to, let's say, every other driver on the circuit, then of course Yusuf is going to lose a lot of time out because he's not got the confidence that other drivers do have. So, and Shadows is saying that nah, Yusuf has been overplaying the game. Is there such thing as overplaying the game? I mean, if you overplay a game, you can burn yourself out. So are you saying that Yusuf is burnt out? Darkened? We'll get an answer from him, I'm sure, momentarily. But if Yusuf is burnt out, I'm sure he'll answer the question 100%. So maybe partly for the reason that Yusuf just hasn't been the same driver, as that he's just burnt out over F124, which makes sense. Yeah, it's a difficult game to love and adore. I honestly, before this stream started, the first time I tried joining the lobby, my game crashed. So classic F1 things, it is the most irritating and brain-numbing thing in the world. But it looks as if Yusuf Goat's going to move back up to P5 against the Ferrari that originally overtook him. Kicks Sauber and Karma F1 up to P8. Sir Joshi down to P9. Yellow flag, and that's going to be the kick Sauber of letter P, who's now 57 seconds down from P18. So well and truly been blue flagged, and just controlling his own race in a very different manner, let's just say. Lap 38 of 66 here, and once again starting to approach that 40 lap margin. But of course, if you're only just joining us now, my name is Jamie Perry, also known as JP by a lot of the people in the server. I am your main commentator and most likely your only commentator for today here for Tier 1 around Spain for 66 laps of action. I apologise if I'm not carrying the same energy as I always do. I came back from the gym, as I swear I've already mentioned multiple times, so I do apologise. And yeah, I also just wasn't prepared to do 66 laps of racing by myself. So yeah, my apologies if I seem a bit less energetic as I usually do, or I'm not carrying the same amount of energy. But yeah, just bear with me, and we'll get through this race in one piece. Aston Martin of Yusuf Goat moving down to P6, as it seems as if McJammy Dodge once again having the nice back and forth with the Aston Martin driver. Farmer Sam in P1, but that gap has significantly come down in the last couple of laps. I can see Farmer Sam's tyre wear, and I can say with absolute certainty that he will be struggling on those tyres. 15 laps old now, and is currently at 26% tyre wear, so not terrible, but it's definitely starting to increase, that's for sure. And he's also not saving his battery to the best of his ability, as he's currently on 37% battery. So he has 26.7% tyre wear on the front left, 26.7% on the front right. Rear left is on 26.7%. So a lot of 26.7s, and now goes to 27.1. And oh, as we were just mentioning about tyre wear for Farmer Sam, he's deciding to come into the pit lane and make that decision to switch over. The Williams of Abyss is now going to get overtaken by Campbell Adams in the Red Bull in P2. And lap 40 of 66, Farmer Sam moves down to P11. Yellow flag deployed. It would have been detrimental to his race if a safety car were to be deployed. Now Farmer Sam completing his strategy most likely as a part of his two-stop, moves down to P12 onto the hards, so not going for another set of the mediums. And Farmer Sam, actually to be fair, I'm pretty sure Sam started on the mediums, so if he were to do the mediums again, he would have still not completed his necessary strategy to finish the race, so yeah. Anyway, Karma F1 in the kick, Sauber P7, 4.5 tenths away from checkered flag in the V-Carb, just a little further behind at the moment. 2 tenths away is Websy in the Williams. Red Bull once again starting to just close in at the moment. Dark and Shadow says you pretty much need to be in DRS on this track or you are screwed. I mean, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is a perfect example by Letter P and Scotty and anyone that's pretty much out of this DRS, because this DRS train that we have of the leaders goes all the way down to P9 and has been with P9 for probably over a quarter of this race. So I can say with absolute certainty, as Campbell Adams moves up into P1, that DRS is going to play such a vital role, because the train, if you're not a part of the train, it's just going to cut yourself off from the rest of the field, because everyone else will be receiving DRS but you're not, so you're going to keep losing out time, and you're going to keep losing out straight line speed. Meanwhile, others are going to continue to find time and find straight line speed and become quicker and quicker and quicker. So yeah, absolutely. That DRS is going to play such an important role here around Spain, and just aerodynamics as a whole. Of course, it's a very high downforce circuit, so of course everyone around this circuit is running something that's much higher on the downforce side. So usually when people are down the pitch straight and they don't have DRS and they don't have that allowance to allow that draggy air to flow through a bit nicer. Um, it does mean that usually that draggy air on top of your downforce becomes even more draggy, and you lose significant amount of your top speed down the pitch straight, and down some of the other straights that you come across here in Spain at Circuit de Catalunya. But if you do have DRS open, then people like Websy can make moves up into P1 like we see once again. So lap 42 of 66 here at Circuit de Catalunya, and it looks as if Karma F1's going to look for a move around the outside, backing out of it, and once again just trying to line up with the V-Carb driver and trying to make the most of it for the time being. Sir Joshi in the McLaren in P8 for the time being, as he's continuing to close in on the other drivers fighting away at the moment to the McLaren, trying to get a bit of the action at the moment. And Tonya just mentioning how the grid is absolutely stacked, and you would be correct. Let's actually run through the grid as racing action continues to unfold here, and the Red Bull driver of Campbell Adams just backing out of it. So people like Websy absolutely making himself such a predominant name. I remember commentating him back in VSC when he was less known, and just the levels he's reached nowadays, of course, a part of AMS as well. Like such an incredible driver. Campbell Adams as well, of course, a part of TTM. Abyss, you have McJammy Dodge, of course, Meowsy Gaming. I don't know if he's a part of a team or not, but he is so blisteringly quick. Imagine fighting 66 laps at P1, 2, and 3. And Broseph Coop, of course, mentioning the point exactly. Websy are currently the reigning champ here at IRL as well. So Karma F1, of course, very, very, very well known in the Oceanic region. Good mates with Slammer, and usually has been able to make some pretty good connections. Of course, Checkered Flag with EVE, same as Yusuf Goat. Sir Joshi, I'd say less known than others, but still very well known. Zox, once again, same situation. Dommy is a bit newer. I didn't know Dommy before into Season 8, so personally for me, he's a bit newer. Maybe he was in separate leagues I wasn't in, but yep, Apollo Pepsi, of course. Apollo, another a classic to the list of drivers. Good to see him in here. He's competitive, he's fast, he's funny, he's just a good person to have around. Farmer Sam, same situation. Finns, of course. Finns has been expanding into the endurance scene, and I know that because I've been commentating his races in Porsche Cup races on ACC. So I've been seeing him around on console races. I have no idea who Ecam is. I honestly, apart before season 8, I had no idea who he is. Chill Pill, another classic. I don't know where Chill Pill Talks or Chill Pill F1 Talks has gone. We need the return of that TikTok page because that guy was legendary on TikTok. GLX Cam, of course, Cam, the tiny legend himself with the high pitch voice, but honestly, he's more Australian than what I am. So fair play. Mighty Wombat, of course, I've known him for a couple of seasons now. Haas driver, brilliant person. Scotty, I mean, Scotty the Hottie, Scotty the Legend. There's so many nicknames. Honestly, I could go for days. Scotty is just great, man. I don't know how else to put it. The effort he puts into different leagues. And, I mean, I swear he's like an admin in every single league I'm in. I mean, Scotty is just the greatest person to ever exist in the Oceanic region. So, yeah, honestly, without Scotty, there are so many leagues and there's so many places that would not have so many different things. Like, he is like a pillar, a very, very, very strong, important pillar. So, yeah, Scotty in P18, but he does a lot behind the scenes, and I don't think we get enough appreciation for him, and enough appreciations for the admins and owners behind the scenes as well. Of course, we appreciate every single one of them. The drivers don't talk about them enough, and I don't think commentators do enough either, so big appreciation to you guys, because you guys put in so much effort, and we just love being able to come out here, commentate the action, and go home happy that we joined this league, and we get to be around these drivers, and I see Brosif's in the chat as well. I mean, Brosif, I don't know if you've led the reins of Inters the entire time it's existed in the 8 seasons, or if you took over from someone else, but I feel like you've been a pretty vital part of Inters, I'd assume. Of course, I joined Inters, I think it was season 6, if I'm not wrong, maybe season 5. Um, of course, I joined the Oceanic region just as a whole a bit later. I was around when OSRL was around. I think I joined OSRL season 6 OSRL. I think it was like round 3 or round 4. Um, so, I know my way around this place. I've been around the Oceanic region for over pretty much a year and a half now. So I've been commentating for over 2 years. So the first, like, I don't know, 6 months of my career was mainly just European leagues, and yeah. Broseph says third season of Tetris and Battle Cat. Timmy and TJ were previous. Yes, of course, Timmy and TJ. I no, I wasn't there at the time, but I had heard about them previously. So yeah, it just feels very natural. It was a very very good change in ownership, I'd say, for you, Broseph, and I feel like you've become just the natural owner of Inters. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, the guys you work with, they put in some serious effort. People like you mentioned, Battle Cat, and let's not forget about Tetris. I mean, we can talk about Scotty all day, but Tetris is such a vital part of Inters because the posters and everything on the graphics side, um, everything you see on that side is always Tetris. I mean, he's starting to give himself a little bit more credit. Of course, before the intro begins, we get to see the Tetris design pop up on the screen, which is always nice to see. So, yeah, big shout out to you guys. I'm also, I hope everyone knows, I am making up for lost time because this is a long bloody race and I gotta talk about other stuff than just the same things for 66 laps of racing action. So I hope you understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So Joshi moving up to P6, Karma F1 down to P7 in the kick. Sauber 2 tenths away is now where he currently sits as they continue through into turn 3, now into the next couple of corners. McLaren braking into the next corner, so Joshi in P6, SFR Fins in P13, and Ecam just following in the pursuit of Fins as checkered flag leads this little tussle of cars onwards. Campbell Adams in the Red Bull 3.5 tenths ahead of the Williams of Websey, and of course there's been a big back and forth between these two, good amount of overtakings, great just teamwork in terms of using the DRS in an effective manner, but on lap 47 of 66 we're already over 4/6 of the way, which yes of course is also 2/3. Yeah, it's clear to see we are really just starting to get that little bit closer towards the end of this race here, and approaching the big 50 in terms of laps completed as Campbell Adams in the Red Bull falls down to P2 as Websey goes back up into P1. Karma F1 in the kick. Sauber in P6, Sir Joshi down to P7, and Zox just following the pursuit of both drivers, hoping one of them makes a mistake and will be able to capitalize on both drivers up into P6 and take away both. McJammy dodging the Ferrari in the Aston Martin of P4, also trying to close them, and yeah. You know what I need to do for the future? If there are certain drivers that stream the races for Inters, I need to like get this stream up and then implement like a little perspective we can switch to sometimes. I mean, obviously I can go through every perspective, but like I could be focusing on, I don't know, like Websy or something, and then let's say Karma's streaming or something, then I can have Karma's perspective and Websy's perspective. Anyway, like some creator series type of broadcasting. So just an idea. Anyway, McJammy Dodge in P5 once again, bringing himself just that little bit closer towards Chungus at the moment. And the Ferrari driver now gets the DRS open. Aston Martin just left like a sitting duck on the side of a road to be absolutely swooped up by a car. And McJammy Dodge moves up into P4 with absolute precision in mind, keeping it on circuit and doing a brilliant job. So lap 49 of 66 here for Inters Racing League tier number 1 for the Spanish Grand Prix Enduro round. Of course, very big points on display and playing for tonight. Of course, whoever wins this race will be scoring much higher amount of points in comparison to usual amounts, if I'm not wrong. I'm sure Broseph will correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure you score more points in an enduro round. Same as DRS if I'm not wrong. Otherwise, once again, correct me. Yeah, it's double points. Yeah, I thought so. I was just thinking an enduro round usually is double points. Um, Williams of Websy 7/10 away from Campbell Adams. Ecan with a 3-second time penalty, and of course the Red Bull driver, teammates to Campbell Adams, being, if I'm not wrong, he's a reserve driver tonight on 18-lap old hard compound tyres. A lot of drivers going for very different strategies. Of course, Abyss, interestingly, even with his degradation that he's now facing on 25-lap old hard compound tyres, currently still sticking quite closely with people like Websy and Campbell Adams. He's currently on 29% tyre wear. Other drivers, like for example, let's go Domi and the Haas, will currently see himself with 25% wear. So it does differentiate throughout the field, but overall, yes, all the way to P20. So people from P1 all the way to P20 will score points, and it is double points. So there is more to play for in an endurance round, which might mean if, for example, you were to miss a round that's just the normal rounds, normal basic round, 50%, normal qualifying structure, all of that, then usually it could mean if you were missing that race and come back for an enduro round race, then you can make up for a lot of lost time if you were to win that race. So there's a lot of play for, and there's a lot to consider going into an endurance race. So I think double points is also a good reward for drivers, because if people feel, let's say, less motivated to drive because it's a longer race, or if people are just feeling bummed out, as long as they understand that the points they get tallied against their name is significantly higher, then I think it works out better for them, and they'll have that motivation to keep driving. But of course, it's not all about motivation, ladies and gentlemen. Just like in life, if you rely on motivation, then whenever you're not motivated, you're just going to sit still and do nothing. So it's always important, even when you're not motivated, to have the determination to push through any struggles or problems you're going through. And Karma F1 in the kick Sauber, and just big slide there, getting way too much on the curb there, and Alpine will absolutely swoop up that position, but unfortunately he won't, because the kick Sauber was practically a big barricade on the road there, so the Alpine stays in P8 for the time being. And the Williams of Abyss, once again, impressive performance by him at the moment. Of course, I believe, if I'm not wrong, he is a reserve driver for Williams, or not specifically Williams, but is a reserve driver. And I mean, it's just been such a brilliant performance put on display. Let a P, 10-second time penalty for ignoring blue flags. That is quite a significant one. And ooh, Finn's ending up in the gravel and nearly retiring himself from the race as well. And oh, don't tell me. I was about to say, is he trying to retire himself? Jesus. Once again, going back to that point, it is double points. It does run down to P20, so it's better safe than sorry. Just finish the race. It's as simple as that. Yusuf Goat at the moment in P5, trying to hunt down the Ferrari driver of Mick Jammy. Dodge 3.5 seconds away from Abyss, of course. Mick Jammy is not picking up any type of slipstream, tow, or DRS with Abyss ahead, so it is going to be Yusuf Goat in an all-out fight with the Ferrari driver to fight out for P4. And of course, if they do decide to fight it out, then usually that will mean a cost in time, and a cost in time means probably for the remainder of this race they will not reach those podium positions that I'm sure they were aiming to reach. I did this about halfway through the race. We'll say it again. Once again, if you're joining us for the first time for this stream right near towards the end, because of course you didn't want to watch 66 laps of racing, firstly, what are you doing? Come here for the whole race if you're going to watch the race. But secondly, hi, name's Jamie Perry, JP as a majority call me. I have been commentating for 2 years, been a part of the Oceanic region for probably a year and a half, maybe just more than that, and yeah, just a pleasure to be here this evening for some lovely bit of racing, and of course the clean consistency and competitiveness that we get to see always on display when it comes to racing action. Karma F1, by the way, losing position out to Sir Joshi. McLaren goes up to P6 and Zox now down to P8. And Zox nearly running into the rear end of Karma F1, locking one of his front end tyres just to avoid getting any closer to that rear diffuser of the green and black car. And Zox once again will be waiting for an opportunity to try and get past Karma F1, because it's clear to see he's quite eager to try and get the move done on lap 53 of 66 here. We're approaching the final 13 laps of racing. And yeah, just well and truly still a close one on display throughout the field. SFR Finn's actually leaving the session, and that is because he's retired. Where has Finn's retired? Interesting. Well, unfortunate for Finns in P18, letter P will move up in position, and the Rebel driver of Campbell Adams will get a lovely strip seam in tow, and Websy will fall down to P2. I mean, right now, in this very moment, on lap 54 of 66, they're working together as a team. The Red Bull is going to be going into P1, Williams will get a bit of a slipstream and tow DRS, and Williams will remake or retake the move that he lost out on. Abyss is also still there, you know, just in the distance, but it's mainly between these two at the moment. It was previously, and it is now. And it's going to continue this way for the next couple of laps. I expect it to be all the way until maybe lap 63 or even 64. But in those final two, maybe even final lap as a whole, we are going to see an absolute showdown for the ages. Once again, these drivers, some of the best known, best competitive drivers on the field. Websy against Campbell Adams. And of course, Abyss is still there. He's just not as close as Websy. Point still being, though, is that between these two, in these final couple of laps, it will be an absolute showdown for who can win this race and who will pick up the win for the Spanish Grand Prix Enduro round for round 3 of Season 8 Tier 1. So, yeah, it's going to be an absolute showdown near towards the end of this race. And Campbell Adams, even on these old 26-lap-old tyres, he's managed to set the fastest lap of a 1:13.664. I mean, it was very minimal. It was 2.5 tenths, but fair play to Campbell Adams, who was on an absolute roll. So his obvious goal was to just make sure he held that lead going into the next lap. But Websy's keeping his consistency. He's making sure he's hitting his marks, hitting the right sector times, even if it is, you know, slower than his fastest sector times. It's just about preserving and making sure he's in the absolute best range, so when he does make an overtake, if he makes an overtake, then he will be doing it at the perfect time with the perfect consideration. So we're now 5/6 into this race, which of course can not be simplified. If we were to use that as a fraction, of course. We are pretty much 3/4 of a way through the race, probably a bit more than that, but we are closing in on the end of what has been quite a close, competitive DRS trainee endurance race here in Spain, even at the best of times. A little further down the field, Karma F1, 4 tenths off the McLaren of Sir Joshi in P6. Sir Joshi's 5 seconds off Yusuf Goad at the moment, but Karma F1 is just a little further off away to make a move stick. 4 tenths, though very possible that the DRS will be strong enough, and yes, it will be. So that nice bit of downforce that's being used by Karma F1's allowed that DRS to make full effect, and that appearance allows him back up into P6, which we've seen on multiple occasions. A good back and forth, just like what we're seeing at the front end of the field, but not for the first time running. Campbell Adams once again holds on to P1, so whatever Campbell Adams is doing on the battery side, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's significantly lower. You can see the bar, and because they refuse to share their data, we're just going to have to expose them, won't we? So 35% on the battery, 95% on the battery, so no wonder why Campbell Adams is actually staying ahead against Websy at the moment. It's because he's using so much more of his battery, so he can really try and push against him. I mean, 100%, 51%, so yeah, it's clear to see on display here that Campbell Adams is on a much more significant disadvantage compared to Websy, who once again gets DRS, will use a bit of his battery up, but yeah, 38%. There you go. Oh, there you go. It seems as if Websy will make that move stick, and Williams moves up, back up into the lead of the race. So, seems as if a bit more conservation now on display by Campbell Adams, but Campbell still using a bit more of his battery up in comparison to what Websy was, so still something they'll need to mention. and Abyss in P3 once again, as we mentioned, just close to them, of course, in the DRS train, but they're just not necessarily close enough to make a move stick. And I'd say one of the biggest disappointments, and I don't mean this in a mean way, just in a general sense, in terms of the race so far, was McJammy Dodge. To start P2 and then lose 2 positions out in probably the opening lap, if I'm not wrong, and then just kind of stay there for the remainder of it. I think obviously it comes down to just general how pace and as a whole, how well you're able to compete with worn down tires and a heavier fuel load and just different conditions. It's very possible that those types of factors has caused him to be a bit slower in the race compared to qualifying, but still I did expect a little bit more from McJammy Dodge. I think he's well and truly up there, but to be fair, when you have drivers like Campbell Adams and Websy's fighting it out for the race lead, it's a tough one to kind of go up against, so fair play to the Ferrari driver for his efforts so far. And Websy still in P2. Of course, he lost out position to Campbell Adams down the pit straight, lap 58 to 66, and we are less than 10 laps away till the end of the race now, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a long one here in Spain, but I'm glad you've been able to join me for what has been a beautiful ride of racing and sound and noise and motorsport as a whole. And of course, I guess because we're on an F1 race, who's excited for pre-season testing, which is coming up, I believe, next week, which is going to be pretty cool. Of course, February is a much shorter month. There's only 28 days this year. I believe it was a leap year last year where we had 29, so only 28 days this month in February. Then we move over into March, and that, of course, is the beginning of a lot of things. We have Qatar next week, we have Qatar. I should probably specify, in the World Endurance Championship, we will have the 8.5 hours, something like that, of Qatar, because they do it by distance, not time. And just want to mention that Websy now P1, making that move stick against Campbell Adams once again. And I'm very intrigued by Abyss at the moment. Currently has 35% in battery, so he's not exactly saving as much as Websy and what Campbell Adams are probably now saving to. Oh, Red Bull, Campbell Adams. What the heck? Why is he slowed down? Fuel, maybe? Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. What happened there? Campbell Adams down to P3. He's lost DRS. Websy's into the lead now. Abyss is 7 tenths away from his teammate. Campbell Adams is 1.5, and why is he lingering on the throttle? He's saved a lot of his battery. Is it fuel? No, his fuel gauge isn't going off. He's still got good speed. What has happened? Twitch chat, help me out here. Oh god, Red Bull has lost the rear end of the car. And I wonder if he slowed down because of a spin, and now it's happened a second time. Maybe his tyres are too hot, and that's why he's slowed down. But the Red Bull of Campbell Adams was fighting for the race lead, and in a moment's notice, in classic motorsport, fashion, anything can happen no matter what point in the race it is. Campbell Adams is down to P5 and in the midfield off the podium. So that now allows McJammy Dodge and the Ferrari to get up. Yusuf Goat is down to P4, of course. I believe that is Scotty, who is a backmark who's just been overtaken. So Ferrari isn't really going to get disturbed right near the front end of the field. Will Abyss be able to try and close in on Websy and offer us some good last lap racing? Or that little mistake made by Campbell Adams cost us what could have been a brilliant last lap battle between the two. But yeah, we'll have to maybe ask Campbell, but I don't know, I don't think he's going to get onto the podium in time. 3.9 off of Yusuf, and Yusuf's another 1.1 off, so yeah, that's definitely not worked in their favour in the slightest. So Abyss, 35 lap old tyres. Websy, 31 lap old hard compound tyres, both on the C1s, but they are making it work. And on lap 60 of 66, they're going to continue to progress through the field. Letter P just momentarily slowing down after a mistake, obviously, in P18, and 57.4 seconds down on the next closest car. Lap 61 to 66, we are in the final 6 laps of racing, ladies and gentlemen, and I will say that Abyss is definitely starting to close in on Websy, and I must say, from a team principles perspective, this, ladies and gentlemen, oh, 100%. Dark and Shadows, you are 100% correct on this. the Constructors' Championship. Williams is going to love every second of this. Of course, there is action out on circuit. We will just momentarily take the opportunity to switch over to the Constructors' Championship and currently see where Williams is. 33 points at the moment. They are one position lower from where they finished in Vegas, but this is double points. I want people to remember that. Imagine how many points you score in the drivers, and we'll have a look at the drivers now. Imagine how many points you score in the drivers. So you score... Someone help me out here. I actually have no idea how many points you score in the drivers. Anyway, imagine the amount of points you score in the drivers, then double that amount, and then consider P1 and P2. That is where Williams will be by the end of that race. And back to the racing action, and just on board here, Abyss is going to go up to P1, so coming back at the perfect time, of course, but yeah, there you go, Abyss up to P1, Websy falling down to P2, so I'd only assume there's a bit more preservation on display by Websy, but he does only have about half his bar still remaining in terms of ERS, so not 100% certain on what he's decided to go for there, but Websy, P2, 2/10 away from Abyss. Abyss now leading this race, of course. Websy will get DRS out of the exit of turn 9, and then we'll get it once again out of the exit of the pit straight if he decides not to make the move yet. And it just seems as if that is the Kick Sauber of letter P, who will most likely make the decision to just take it nice and slow. I'd be worried if letter P is going to race these guys. He's already 57 seconds behind. He's not exactly losing anything out by just sticking behind them. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, there's the pit straight with DRS, so this is going to be a pretty interesting situation with the blue flag at play. It seems as if, yeah, no, Kick Sauber is going to fight here, and he is going to unlap himself at least once over. So letter P is actually going to block out Websy here. Abyss is going to love this. This little bit of blockage, even if it was very momentary, has allowed Abyss to just gain another 10th or 2 against Websy. So Websy has not been able to gain the same amount as he previously would have. And Dark and Shadows, thank you for doing me the math and actually knowing how many points is worth in the drivers and constructors. 88 points for Williams at the moment on display by finishing in P1 and P2. That is humongous. I mean, to go from P4, if you score 88 points and your other, constructor rivals are nowhere near you or just a bit more separated, that is a guaranteed takeover of the Constructors' Championship. Darkened, seeing that you're in Twitch chat and you're helping me out, can you quickly calculate if everyone were to finish in the current position they're currently in, even between, Websy and Abyss, would Williams take over the Constructors' Championship, please? I would love you very much, please. Thank you. Kiss, kiss. Anyway, lap 63-66 comes to an end. We now start lap 64, and nearly at the penultimate lap of racing here. Letter P actually starts well off on his little campaign here. And P was giving Websy DRS, that's true, but still Abyss sticking nice and close to him. And ladies and gentlemen, there were a lot of things that happened in this race. We had incredible moments, brilliant overtakes, spins, DNFs, and just overall lack of pace from some drivers. Unfortunately, in the case of Campbell Adams, as he now falls down to P7 in the Red Bull, it has not been the race that he would have wanted. Of course, he had who has the fastest lap. So fastest lap, of course, goes to letter P. He set down a 1:13.023. He was 5/10 quicker than his previous fastest lap, if you wanted to know. Anyway, back to what I was saying before. We had, of course, Campbell Adams fighting away with Websy. He was practically there from start to finish. Campbell Adams, of course, trading positions with people like Websy, people like McJammy Dodge, people like Yusuf Goat, even people like Checkered Flag at one stage. And now he finds himself down in P7 due to just such an easy-to-make mistake. Rookie errors, but they can happen at the best of times, no matter how experienced you are. And on the penultimate lap of racing, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting to reach those final moments here for round number 3 of Spain. Tier 3's already gone racing. Tier 2's already gone racing. Tier 1 tonight, in this moment. And it really does come down between a driver to driver, teammate to teammate showcase of who is the best in the team. If I'm not wrong, Abyss representing a reserve driver, Websy representing one half of the full-time drivers. Websy is on 4-lap newer hard compound tyres, but Abyss has a full tank of battery. Websy has about 70%. Is that enough to defend? You would think so, and already increasing to 6.5 or 5.5 tenths. Will Abyss allow his teammate to win, or does he want the opportunity to win this race on his own? Racing Lips, welcome in, mate. You're right near towards the end of this race. And yeah, of course, me, myself, and I, Jamie Perry on comms. But lap 65 of 66 will come to an end, and the showcase between these two Williams drivers goes full speed ahead. 4.5 tenths, the DRS well and truly on display, and Websy ducking and weaving to try and avoid that DRS having any effect on his position. He will lead going into turn 1, and it seems almost inevitable that this race win will fall under one person's name, which I won't point out because of comms curse, but it does seem as if this is feeling more and more likely to fall in Websy's favour. Abyss in P2, 6 tenths away from Websy. Websy increasing that to 7 tenths, dumping his battery. Meanwhile, Abyss only using about 20% of it. I mean, he needs to dump it if he wants to try and win this race from this type of distance, especially with how little time to go there is. And with 7 tenths remaining through the final sector, I would say it's practically impossible to make an overtake now unless there is a mistake on Websy's path. So, after 66 laps of racing, 100% distance has come to a close. Round 3 of the endurance has gone full speed ahead, and in Spain, it is Websy who wins the Spanish Grand Prix. Abyss finishes in P2, and McJammy Dodge will finish them off for the podium positions due to the mistake made by Campbell Adams. Campbell will only finish in P5, Sir Joshi P6, Karma F1 P7, Zox P8, and the drivers continuing to come through the field. Williams scoring an insurmountably high 88 points in the Constructors' Championship due to double points of the Enduro rounds. Domi in P11, Apollo Pepsi P12, Chill Pill in the Aston Martin will fight it out with the Haas of Mighty Wombat. Close, but not close enough. Chill Pill in P13 will come around the final corner and across the line and will finish in lucky number 13. Mighty Wombat finishes in P14. Ecam still has a little bit to eke out, pun intended. And the Red Bull driver actually allowing the kick Sauber by because of course, it's a blue flag. Actually deciding to red limit it in 3rd gear. And swiveling left and right is the Red Bull driver. And just mentioning how the Williams team principal should actually retire because, of course, he would be disappointed in the results that the Williams boys have produced. Because, of course, why wouldn't he? But there he is, out in front, the Williams driver of Websy on top. It is a Williams 1-2 in the Enduro round. And it will be him, as well as Abyss, who finishes in P1 and P2. 88 points on top. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how you get it done. My God, what a brilliant show of dominance and a brilliant show of performance on display here in Spain. Wow. And with everything said and done, there he is. Websy finishes off the race in P1 after 66 laps. Abyss P2, P3, McJammy, Dodge, Chungus, also known as Yusuf, go in P4. Campbell Adams P5 going down from there. You see people like Scotty only managing P17 today. He had a much better race in Vegas, so he'll be looking to try and come back a bit stronger next time out. Led a P18, Finn's P19, and Angel Maker. Of course, both Finns and Angel Maker retiring, but Angel Maker finishing off in P20 with a retirement. Yeah, I would be. So I've got Williams 121 points, Red Bull 84 points, Red Bull 71, Ferrari 63. So Williams would be leading the constructors then after this race, if we are calculating properly. Wow, that is one way to swoop it up from P4 to P1 in one round of racing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what the endurance series does, uh, or the endurance rounds do when you're given the opportunity. Absolutely dominant in every single way of pretty much explaining it. So let's get some interviews in with these guys. I'll try and send an invite out and see if they want to have a chat with me after what has been quite a long, strenuous race for them, and we'll go from there. So, one moment, and hopefully we can get some interviews in with these guys. Websy is coming. Not in that way, don't be weird. Technically, Websy are part of the new Constructors Championship leaders, my apologies, will be joining. I see Meowsy, of course, already joining us, and just waiting on the other two. But seeing that you, of course, did finish in P3, Meowsy, let's get started with you. So, congratulations on P3. Great effort and great consistency, of course. First thing I want to get into is qualifying. You started P2 and
hmm
you fell down two positions. So, talk to me about your confidence. What occurred that caused you to lose those couple of positions out?
I had no line. I switched to no line, so that's probably why.
What, just don't have the same confidence without it?
Nope.
Ah,
No, not at all.
ah dear.
I got into the rhythm though towards the end of the stint, so
Yep.
that was pretty good.
Well, I mean, 66 lap race, good practice without it.
Yeah, true. I wish I was almost gonna get into DRS with Abyss, but he started burning, so I was kept out of DRS by 1,000th of a second, and we didn't get anywhere close to that since then. So yeah, unfortunately, I was a bit faster than Yusuf, so I couldn't effectively DRS swap with him. So I could never really catch back up. So I was just relying on a safety car because I felt like my pace was on, like, race winning pace, or at least enough to be fighting for the win. And looking at the end of the race, how it finished, it could have been a very good opportunity for me to take the win. But I'll take P3. I'm lucky that Campbell, you know, had that moment. I'm not even too sure what happened, and
Yeah.
yeah, I had a couple instances with Abyss, so yeah, I may report him for that. So
Interesting. So, just no real certainty when it came to what happened with Campbell Adams.
mm.
I wasn't watching him either, so that's why I wasn't. I was
I
gonna
mean, the race
ask
is
you.
boring, so you probably were falling asleep. So I don't
I,
blame you.
oh mate, solo comms as well. You know how it is.
Yeah, that sucks.
Anyway, well, yeah, I wasn't on board with Campbell at the time either, so I didn't get to see. But I guess for you, it's a great P3, even if it is a little bit lucky. Let's be honest. Um, how how are you hoping to maybe replicate those results for the future? Maybe not let's say the lucky bit, but hoping to score more podiums, and will it just be more turning the line back on until you gain a bit more confidence, or you're gonna keep line off?
It really depends on the track. Like Spain, it's pretty easy. It's just breaking boards. But like for instance, Las Vegas, you just have to look at the shadows and like just know where you are. So it's impossible to really like learn that in a short amount of time. So yeah, I'll probably do it for Bahrain because I know it pretty well. Maybe Japan, but I'll see what happens for the rest of the season.
Hmm.
I do want to fight for this championship. I'm a bit behind at the moment, so I need every advantage right now.
Yep. Well, it's not necessarily too late, so there's every opportunity for you to come back through. But how about next week of racing, which I actually don't know what it is, I
It's
would
Bahrain.
usually. There you go, Bahrain. Perfect. You already mentioned it. So next week of racing, Bahrain. It's a pretty, let's say, dynamic circuit. It's pretty diverse. It's been on the
Hmm.
calendar for years now. How confident are you feeling for it?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I personally enjoy it a lot. It was the first track I learnt with no line, and I've have a lot of experience with it. You know, in F1 Oceania, I was using no line for that, and I did pretty well. I was in a DRS training with Campbell, and I was keeping up with him. I had good quality pace, and if you look at my quality and race pace compared to my competitors around me, I do have a significant advantage over them. So hopefully, I can be challenging Campbell for the win, but I need probably him to do whatever he did today
Yeah.
again for that to happen because he's in a different league at this point. I saw him doing like a 25-7 in PSGL the other day around Bahrain.
Yeah.
I'm happy with a point 0.3 personally, so
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on P3, Meowsy. A great effort from you. Unfortunate, it was a little bit of luck that kind of went into it, but still, P3's P3.
yep, true.
Alrighty, Abyss, congratulations on P2. Welcome, of course, to the interview room. I don't think I've actually spoken to you, sorry, before, but pleasure to have you here this evening. It's Williams 1-2, if what Twitch chat is saying is correct. Then Williams has managed to take over the Constructors' Championship, so congratulations for that. And just overall, how are you feeling about all that?
Good race. I went for the undercut and I lost any advantage by hitting the massive bump, so that was entertaining. But otherwise, yeah, no, it was good. Just working together with Campbell and Websy built a gut.
Yep.
So
Absolutely, and once again, just referring back to the point I was saying, now that Williams are leading the Constructors' Championship, are you planning to try and return to the Williams team, try and help them out a bit more?
I'll well, I'll just race here and there tonight. This afternoon I was just a bit free and
Yep.
don't mind Spain, so I just thought I'd jump in with the fellas and have a good race. It was a little bit boring, but we got this. We
Was
got
there
it, so it was good.
any communication that was on display between you and Websy, just talking back and forth, or was it just full focus?
Managing that gap, and yeah, I mean, there's nothing really in it for me to try and battle him for the win or anything.
Yep,
As I said, I don't really plan on racing too much, so
fair
gonna
enough.
give him the win, P2, not cause any dramas. It's all good.
Cool. And, well, like you said, you're racing here and there, but let's say theoretically you are racing next week at Bahrain. How do you usually go around Bahrain?
Ugh. Yeah, it's all right. It's quite painful to be honest.
Is
This
it?
track on that game, so it's all right. It's not
Ah,
too bad.
fair enough.
I mean, every track's the same. Stay in DRS and fight it out at the end.
And I think in the best way I can possibly say it, I need to get your bitch of a teammate in because he's refusing to join the bloody VC. How is this guy saying I'm coming and then refuses to bloody join? Anyway, congratulations on P2, mate. Great effort from you. Great to see some good teamwork on display, and hopefully we get to see you on the grid a bit more.
Yeah, cheers, bro. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Websy. Websy. Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. The whole reason we are currently not talking to our race winner is because he's decided to not join the bloody VC. So we are currently on wait until we can. Uh, if you're watching the stream, P, I showed maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes in total of stream time of you, so I think you'll be fine. Um, Alright, I'll give it like a minute, and if Websy decides not to join, then we'll just end stream anyway, because I do not have the patience for drivers to waste their time talking to other people. Anyway, let's go through other stuff while we wait for him. Calendar, of course, like we mentioned before, Bahrain will be next up on the 28th to the 2nd of March, which of course Tier 1 will be taking place on the 2nd of March for round number 4, and that will be just a normal round as usual before Suzuka in round 5 goes back to sprint racing, so it should be interesting to see how that will unfold. Like we said before though, Bahrain round 4 should be an interesting one at Sakir. We are getting towards. All right, Websy is joining slowly but surely. Apologies for the lack of context in that laugh there. He is joining. Oh dear. But yeah, Bahrain next week should be an exciting one ahead of us, and hopefully Websy can hurry up. Holy Jesus, you can say sorry all you want, but join the bloody VC. that that's my
I'm
reaction
here.
to you. That's my reaction to you. I hope
Well,
you hear this.
that was only like 10 minutes wait. Like,
Aha, 10 minutes
come on.
wait, huh?
You've just sat through a 2 hour race. Surely you can
Yeah.
wait
Oh,
10 minutes.
without any co-commentator either.
Nah, I actually feel bad. No co-commentator.
Oh dear.
That's torture.
Honestly, what time do you
It
call
was bad
this?
enough driving. This is boring enough. I can't
Oh.
imagine commentating.
Anyway, congratulations. P1, Williams 1-2. That's 88 points to your Constructors' Championship, which makes you the Constructors' leaders for the time being. So, how do you feel about that one?
It was great to be honest. It's a shame that Abyss isn't racing for us full time because I know him pretty well, and yeah, we usually work quite well together as a team.
Yeah.
And of course he's very fast, so it would be a huge boost if we could get him full time. But we've got Aussie 2K Goat for now, who can fight towards the top end of the points, like around P7, P8. So hopefully he can get a few more across the season, and we can fight for the constructors.
It was good teamwork on display between you and Campbell Adams during the race. So, was that all pretty planned? Just back and forth between you two, use the DRS and just allow yourself to build a gap?
Yeah, obviously he's very fast, and I feel like I had just a slight bit more pace than everyone else behind, so it was relatively easy to work with him. And then once the pit stops came, got a bit lucky and broke DRS, and then yeah, had the pace to break away from there.
Absolutely, and unfortunately, I wasn't there when Campbell Adams had his little mistake. So, can you give me a bit more context on what actually happened there?
Well, I'm not sure because I was ahead at the time,
Right.
but he just actually no, he told me. He said he went into none and then accidentally clicked the overtake button, and he's just
Oh, and
dropped it
lost.
out
Yeah,
of
lost the
turn
rear end.
turn 10.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
spun. He
so
spun
that's what
second
happened.
time, and I made the assumption that his tires were too hot, so he must have spun. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
fair enough. Bahrain, Sakia next week for some more Inters racing. Obviously, very balanced, very nice circuit to go racing at, very diverse. So, how are you feeling for that?
I just hate Bahrain, to be honest. I don't remember the last
Here,
time I had
here,
a good
here am
race at
I.
Bahrain.
Here am I complimenting, but it's a pretty shit race. I can't lie.
Can't say that on stream.
Yes, I can.
Right. Um, yeah, but I just don't remember the last time I had a good race around Bahrain. It's just, I don't even feel that slow. It's just a cursed track for me. So we'll see how we go this time. Um, but yeah, I'll try my best.
Fair enough. Well, congratulations on P1. Williams 1-2. Williams takes over the Constructors' Championship. Overall, good wit W's from Williams.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, from me in the commentary box, this is where we say goodbye. And yeah, get to see you next week. Of course, we already went over that Bahrain is next week. Make sure you catch it. No more endurance rounds for the foreseeable future until, of course, we have the next one. But until that point, we have Sakia. Then we've got the sprint round at Suzuka. So we'll see you for the next 2 rounds before we have a nice break week because of the Australian GP. But until then, cheers and goodbye.